spot they talked about. Made it through just fine. Going to tell us the little story behind his quirky little home here on wheels. I must say I've walked through the whole RTR since I've been here for 2 weeks now, and this has to be my #1 favorite little house on wheels. It is quite unique and a gem. So I will leave it to Ken now to tell us a little bit about it.
That is very generous of you, and I have had that comment a couple times, but in fact it just turns out that I had a bunch of really old neat stuff around that I needed to get rid of or find a place for, and I clearly couldn't get rid of those. Those are those stackable barrister bookcases. I got a couple full stacks with the tops and the bottoms, but I had extra boxes left over, and to make overhead cabinets out of them just seemed like the logical solution to one more thing that I could get rid of. And then the parts so I'm able to use 4 of those here. And then I had this old door that becomes this end of the shower. I had that for 30 years. So basically, yeah, so the curtain rod comes out of the holder and swings around to provide my privacy to get out of the shower, and I don't have to even close my doors. And then the other additional feature of that is this under counter dish rack or towel rack that will slide out so to hold my shower curtain in place and have my towels stay dry where I can get them after the shower. So finding pieces and parts that fit into that, like you might get a shot of this side of this hinge. This is an ancient gate hinge that I had again laying around for 30 years, and I just added all these old bolts on here. I thought I'd have somewhere to hang my robe or something, but I just had a big long bolt and a whole bunch of old nuts that I just slapped together to create that. And these are like stuff from the Restore, and then back in this part, this was back of the old trailer, so I built the front of this and made the height of these things the same height as the bed. And I made the curtains out of my old t-shirts from concerts and memorabilia that I had. That's the right ones from Pearl
love that
Jam,
idea.
right? And the little wooden guy, people ask me about him. I don't remember, I think it was a Renaissance festival, but he was sitting on my shelf and didn't have a place for 25 years that he ever looked right. But he's got a buddy that's over around on the other side that kind of went the other way, and so the two of them didn't ever sit very well together. But when you put one on each side, you got the matching set. And of course somebody gave me the window that that matched the front just ideally, so I didn't have to think too much about how I was going to finish that out, other than I had to make the trim on the inside. So then I was trying to make things to match on the trim around around the rest of the cabin, and that doesn't matter. But it turns out that the hole I cut out for my fan and plastic stuff on the 1.5" version, but the piece I cut out would then go right back in there. And I thought, well, how lucky.
And he has a skylight
and
window.
A roof hatch, and I was going to put stairs here in the shower, and I was going to be able to go up on the roof deck or make a pop-up bedroom or something, and that's all gone now. But the skylight's just a window I found at the Restore also.
I noticed you have this little heater down here.
Yeah, it's very cold weather. I haven't been traveling much, but it has been a perfectly adequate for me. You have to provide a little ventilation for them, but in fact, I can only run it on low. It's only like a 1500 BTU on low.
Yeah, I've heard these are the best little heaters.
So
now tell me about this beautiful piece here.
So this actually is a hope chest that my great-grandfather made for my grandmother, probably 100 years ago now. And it was so big that we didn't have a place for it in the house anymore, really. So when I downsized to a tiny house, so I had it sitting around for a while, and it fit perfectly, cut out for the wheel wells. I'm going to be able to put batteries in between in the space and controller very, very neatly.
So we're going to go around the outside because there's lots more fun little quirky things to see. All right, we're back with Kenny, and he's out on his front porch now.
And loving every minute of it.
And what position is that?
That would be the full lotus with the feet up up over my hips. I I'm not really a practiced yoga person, but I can still do that for some reason.
I wish I was that limber.
It isn't like I practice or anything.
So tell me about your lovely porch here and your doors.
Yeah, so actually it kind of, I'm going to say it started with the doors, but the height started with the doors. I found the French doors at the Restore for nothing, got the frame, and so I built the wood structure for the doors on the floor section before I built any of the walls. And then since they're all built out of styrofoam, that's the wood part, and then I just basically built off of it. But it was standing up, and I jointed it and glued it, so it was really firm and rigid, and I haven't had any trouble with it, you know, kind of swaying and things. And then I can fold down the top and fold up the bottom, and the step becomes the bicycle rack. And the same way, of course, with the siding is old stuff that I had, and the wainscoting I found at the Restore, and the cedar boards I had to buy, but that forms the external structure and adds an element of beauty to the thing, I would like to think. And odds and ends and bits and pieces of old down at the bottom is below the cedar board is an old barn board that I put on the frame of the truck for structure, and it just fits right in, right? You wouldn't even notice it, and you would, you know, the other way, I guess.
And this,
And then,
what do we have here?
and this is when I'm going to start I'm going to start the ironing business any day now. And this is actually the canopy with a hammock for a.
I got
for a
to see it, and it
cover.
was so cool.
But this will fold up into the wall, and the hinge, I probably didn't tell you that before, it's got a pin in it. So, you know, I could have put a fancy old barn hinge on there, but I put a hinge with a pin in it. I can knock the pin out. I can just take the table and put
And
it
move
anywhere else.
And then these doors here.
Yeah, that's just Restore doors, $5, bifold doors, you know. Couldn't be any simpler. I wish they were regular wood,
And they came from the Habitat.
Habitat for Humanity Restore,
Yes.
and they're all over the country, and they were on sale for $5. And you
Wow.
get something that's old and it's solid wood. I mean, you couldn't put a hollow core door,
Right.
some cheap little door from there. You got it, but they have solid doors still here. That just keeps it out of the way a little better. Hopefully, your lighting will work out right for it that way.
Yes.
But in fact, it's that old 400 Chrysler. But I'm using the starter battery to run my water system and my lights and everything right now, so I don't until I get
And
solar.
it's a Dodge.
It's a Dodge 1976.
And tell us
C
about
Class
this
C.
top right here, the ceiling.
Yeah, it is the front of the Murphy bed. It would be the part that stands up straight that folds down to the ground when you lay the bed out. And it was like probably 100 years old. I found the whole old Murphy bed, and so I had space for this door and the instant water heater and the propane tanks, and I just happened to have this little cat shelf thing that had been on my back porch for 100 years fit the spot perfectly. The door that I picked up and the space that ended up matching, I didn't plan any of that. It fit perfectly in there because I had to line up the wheel wells. Basically, yeah. Long story short, I got a 20-gallon tank, and that's the top, like the headboard of the Murphy bed, and the other piece on the other side under there is kind of the other half of that fold down front that it had. And so really most of it was just, like I said, happenstance, unplanned, lucky, fortuitous stuff that was around, and I did. And that's pretty much what it was.
Wow. And then we have one more special thing.
Oh, we do. We're gonna get back to the big. So, if you have the letters from your Dodge truck, what words could you make out of it? Well, we talked about a few, but the word ego came out of it, and I'm a student of psychology, and so I thought ego was the best one. But now I realize that after being out here for 2 weeks and talking to hundreds of people about how great my van is, I'm going to say that my ego is big enough that it needs its own parking space now. Yeah.
I say that next year we have a little contest and a special trophy for
I
the
should get
very
best.
special vehicle
I
at
know,
the
I know.
RTR.
Where's best in
It's
show?
right here,
Are you gonna
baby.
give me best in
It's
show?
right here. It's right here, Kenny.
I know, right? And I never expected, well, I really probably did think I might attract a little attention, and people might come up and talk to me who otherwise would think I was kind of crazy. And look, it may be not much of an image, but that full moon rising over the mountains there.
Yeah, well, isn't that tonight or is it tomorrow?
I don't know, but it
The
looks
eclipse.
It looks pretty full, which I really am going to miss this wonderful experience and all of the people that have blessed me with their attendance and given me so many boosts to my ego.
Again with me.
Thank you for
Yes,
stopping again.
You're a sweetheart.